Don't get gang-handed with me, my dear. I just won't put up with it. Don't you get gang-handed with me. I'm telling you the truth. Don't give me trouble. Don't give me trouble. There's no need for it. There's no need for it, my dear. It would be heartbreaking if it weren't so absolutely vulgar, wouldn't it, my dear? Reduced and traduced from royalty, from ambassadors of the Commonwealth, Duke and Duchess of Sussex, to a cheap shop version of the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, who were exiled and had to make nice and make do with cozying up to various falling celebrities. Well, these are the ones that are cozying up to celebrities in Montecito. But guess what? It's the other way round. They lack the elegance of the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, even in their worst moment. They are the ones that are left having to cozy up and make nice with Cameron Diaz and Gwyneth Paltrow, who I happen to have affection for both of those. But they are stars of yesteryear, they are relics of the 90s, and that is who the Montecitans want to be pouring all over on some curbside sushi grill. You couldn't make it up, could you, my dears? You've got to feel sorry for them, but they brought it on themselves, so we don't feel sorry for them. But it is inglorious, it is absolutely and resolutely vulgar, tawdry, and absolutely infra-dig. And isn't it delicious, my dear, to compare them to the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, as they were now, Prince and Princess of Wales, who have a true purpose and a true meaning for their life. And Catherine herself was out today in bright yellow, shining her bright sunny joy upon the world, playing a game of noughts and crosses with Dame Kelly Holmes. And this was for the Dame Kelly Holmes Trust, where Catherine met youngsters supported by the charity. And she was wearing L.K. Bennett in that sunshine yellow with white casuals, absolutely shimmering with royal summer. And this was in Bath, by the way. And for those of you that always ask me where to visit in the kingdom if you're coming over and you'll know you're seeing London, Bath should be one at the top on your list. It's too boring to live in Bath, but it's wonderful to visit. An absolutely romantic, beautiful, ancient town, my dear. Roman town. Absolutely beautiful. Not too far from London and not one to be missed. Beautiful place. And Catherine brought even more beauty to the proceedings there. And she showed how it's done. And she showed the kind of games that royals play. And they do not play tacky games. They are not getting into games to try and show you how it's done. But of course, the polarity of that quiz is that they do show you how it's done, Meghan and Harry. They do show you how it's done without even trying, because they have no need to dip their royal varnished lacquered toes of Catherine and the big masculine feet, slightly hairy, of Prince William into your pond. I don't think so, my dear. They had the Thames, and while the Harkles were up to their mischief, and the Duchess of Sussex was trotting along in her espadrilles, and the Duke of Sussex was chewing on dead fish, the Waleses, in comparison, were having a glittering weekend over here. Yes, their coronation weekend. Catherine made a stunning appearance at Eurovision, all 9 seconds of it, my dear, tinkling on the ivories. And no, that is not racist, because there are also ebonies on the keyboard as well, my dear, so don't get carried away and don't get your head into a spin over the use of ivory, because I'm sure that the piano that she was playing was not made from elephant tusk. But the words remain, my dear, they do, ebony and ivory, but they can live together in perfect harmony, which is something that Harold forgot. Over the weekend here, there's been quite a lot of hurrah over behind-the-scenes footage captured of the Prince and Princess of Wales and their family on Coronation Day. Behind-the-scenes footage with jerky cameras and artsy angles. This is how they're promoting it anyway, my dear. Not to my taste at all, but many people enjoy it. Some of you will enjoy it. The hoi polloi love it, and it's getting good attention. And it received over 1 million views on the Prince and Princess of Wales YouTube channel, and that's good. Some of their videos get well viewed, some of them go under the radar, but this one got quite a good media push. Mail Online were all over it. Some of them were sort of drawing hinty comparisons to Netflix, kind of say, oh, it's the Wales' version of the Netflix show, that kind of thing. Well, I beg to differ, my dear, because yes, they do have a new sort of social media campaign, but to be quite honest with you, they've been recruiting social media directors, creative directors, and collaborators for very many years, and every so often you see a new push come forward. So it's not something that has been inspired by Harry and Meghan and their machinations. It's something that is inspired by the world. That's what's been happening in the world for the past decade or two. So you see them catching up with times that way. And this film by Will Waugh, which this doesn't sit very comfortably with me, actually. Will Waugh, because it says a film by Will Waugh, with his Instagram profile attached. Are we really at that tacky stage where we need to name check people who are editing videos? Is that really necessary? And I am here to criticise, by the way, for those of you that might have a problem with it. That's what I do, and that's what I like to nitpick over. So if you don't like that, go flush. Because yes, I praise this footage for having, it did its job. So I'm glad that it was put out there. But it was extremely simple editing. There is nothing complicated about it or complex. Extremely simple editing techniques. The music is used to elicit certain emotions and go through, and it has a dusky filter over it, which is used for drama. And they sort of film everything from below, and it's a shaky camera, and they use a widescreen. These are just simple editing decisions, and it's very simply cobbled together, my dear. I could do it. Yes, I could do it. And I have absolutely no qualifications to do such a thing. Anybody can. And I'm just saying this because they're making such a meal out of the production values of it. As cheap as chips to make, I'm sure, aside from Mr. Will Waugh's fee. But I don't really think that it's kosher for him to be riding publicity off of simply cobbling together some bit of edited footage. Now, as I say, for my taste, I don't care to see shaky, grainy footage. I think it's actually not that slick and modern. I think it's rather dated. I think it's like an episode of Holby City or Casualty over here in the Kingdom, which I certainly never watched. I'm over that kind of documentation, my dear. But if people like shaky cameras and that's what they want to see, it's fine. What I did love to see, of course, was Charlotte stealing the show. Isn't she absolutely splendid? She really is. Oh, if only she came first. Why didn't she push her way first, my dear? I suppose it's biologically impossible, but we need Queen Charlotte. Not wishing any misery. Maybe, you see, and not saying that he's gay, but if he were to be gay, could be rather wonderful, wouldn't it? Because then he could perhaps, if he didn't want to find some way of bringing his gayness into modern monarchy, then he could just say, oh, I'll step aside and let Sissy dear take over. Now, that would be wonderful, wouldn't it? Because then we would have Queen Charlotte. It would be like Elizabeth III, and the whole world would be saved. She's a mixture of the late Queen, of Princess Royal, of, everybody good, really. Everybody good. Not her Uncle Harry or her Auntie Meghan. She's a tumbleweed of everything good, isn't she? We could have a wonderful Queen Charlie. Oh, that would be fabulous. So, Georgie, my dear, not saying he's gay, don't care what he is, but if you are, my dear, perfect, absolutely perfect. You can go and live as a different kind of queen, my dear, and have lots of fun, absolutely lots of fun. But Queen Charlotte would make a wonderful takeover bid. Oh, wouldn't that be an absolutely wonderful trump card to play? Yes, yes, we have a woman on the way. Wonderful. Because it's not against Charlotte, it's not against George, my dears. Before you start, how can you say that about a child? First, get a sense of humour. Secondly, leave this channel. I don't want you here if you haven't got a sense of humour. And third, understand that I just find women a lot more interesting in these roles, whether it's Prime Minister, President, although there's never been yet to be a President, or as monarch. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. What fun is one that can't wear diamonds. Thankfully, we have wonderful consorts such as Catherine and Camilla. It's all the C's going on. Watch it. C for Camilla and Catherine and all kinds of nice things. Cute. Yes, where was I? Yeah, I don't enjoy that kind of production, but loads of people do. Loads of people line up for it's like the sob stories that you find on reality TV. The violins go in, or the chinky pieces of piano forte, and the music gets and then it turns into a ballad. So it's this kind of thing, my dear. When you can sense them manipulating your emotions, that is what I don't enjoy. If they're clever, they will manipulate your emotions without you noticing. You don't want to see the technique. That's the thing, my dear. You don't want to see the technique. Otherwise, the illusion is over. The fourth wall diminishes, my dear. That is what I found with this, my dear. What I did love and what I did prefer, actually, was some very serene footage of the Prince of Wales from the Earthshot Award channel. And that is simply handsome William, looking exquisitely handsome, sat in front of a beautiful tree, and you know that trees are my thing, my dear, and this is a great big oak tree that grew from a tiny little acorn, from Harry to a William. And, you know, this acorn was planted in the reign of William the Conqueror, 1066, you know, all that kind of affair. And these trees at the Windsor Estate, 1,000 years old. Well, he sits next to one, he hugs it at one point. Wonderful, see, this is my street aesthetically, my dear. Beautiful canopy of leaves, you know, like Her Majesty's green canopy, foliage, leaves. That's my kind of thing. But moreover, he speaks beautifully throughout the whole thing. Beautifully. He's really finessed it. You know, just as Catherine has finessed from Duchess to Princess styling, well, Willie's got it too. Willie's got it too. Stepping up to the plate as our future king. He is ready. He is ready. He speaks better. He gets the point over very well. And actually, when I was watching it, I thought, we need more of this. We need more of this. This is for the people that don't need an X Factor reality show sob story affair. It's wonderful that they're catering to those kinds, those types, the hyperlay. But it's really nice if they can tick off another box with the kind of demographic that watch David Attenborough, that like to watch Prince Edward documentaries, travelling the world and finding out about empire, this kind of thing, or might watch a bit of Michael Portillo on the side. We've all had a bit of Michael Portillo on the side, my dear, and got no complaints about that. But that's what we need, my dear, you know, more in line with perhaps the middle classes, middle to upper. Taking over documentary style. There's room for William as a new David Attenborough, not suggesting as a, you know, some tacky presenter or celebrity, but I saw potential for him getting involved with more of these things and drawing people in who enjoy that sort of affair. So great potential there for both Prince and Princess. And I see it's been announced that the Earthshot Prize for this year will take place in Singapore. So cheers to my Singaporean slings. But yeah, we need to look at this sushi restaurant, don't we? Cameron Diaz with her beau, Benji Madden, who is the lead guitarist of Good Charlotte. Oh dear, I'm sure Rachel and Henry were not happy about that. Good Charlotte? What is he trying to say? That Lilibet is bad? Bad Lilibet? You can just see her pleading, can't you? Hi, I'm Megan. I heard that you are lead guitarist for Good Charlotte. Don't you think it's time for a rebrand? Good Lilibet? Or how about Good Megan? Or Good Rachel? Any of those or all of them would be wonderful. No, I don't think so, Benji Madden. You stay with Good Charlotte. No disparagement to Lilibet. I'm sure she's a wonderful young child, but I'm talking about Rachel. You know, she will try and get in where oil don't go. And that is what they've been up to this weekend. And it is so vulgar to see her dragging along the hubby. Oh, you know, couldn't expect it of her. You can expect it of her. She was, you know, she's been attracted to the bright lights of the school stage from such a young age for the Harkle Show, you know, like me daddy, like me the way that only you can, like me up. Well, she has the unrelenting light of Montecito, and you know how it draws out ants to the surface of the cracks in the sidewalk. That's what you see with Harry and Meghan. Suddenly they appear where there's lights, where there's celebrity done. Hi, it's the Harkles. Like me, daddy, like me. It's so infra-dig. I ask you, honestly. Page 6, this was, suggested that they were joined inside because Cameron and Benji stayed outside in the on the curb, the gutter, but apparently Gwyneth Paltrow and Brad Fulchuk, the TV producer, weren't pictured, so I can't say this for sure, but apparently that's who they were munching sushi with inside. Together with the Bumble chief executive, Whitney Wolfe Herd. Bumble is a dating application. And her husband, Texas Oil Heir, Michael Herd. By the way, I have no disparagement for these people, by the way. I happen to have an affection for them, most of them. I really do. But the fact that they are being cobbled together into some huddle, some group, some thought shower, For what reason? Well, she's gone from Lizzie Cundy to Millie McIntosh to Gwyneth Paltrow in her endeavours. And we all know what happened to Lizzie Cundy, because she tells us often enough. And we've been told once now what happened to Millie McIntosh. Now the sights are set on Gwynny. Now, as we've been saying, she wants to go from goop to dupe to poop. Yes, my dear. And this Whitney Wolfhard is the youngest self-made billionaire in the world. 1.56 billion. She's not doing bad, is she, my dear? Lend us a fiver. Yes, well done, Whitney. So, she has gotten together. Miss Mark, isn't she clever? And I bet she could have done that without a royal title, couldn't she? Without her royal goings on. Don't you think that when she was an actress on Suits, what would she be on now? Series 15? What would she be playing? Still the young ingenue, the starlet? Well, I don't know about that, but I cannot imagine that she would have been pulling in this A-list Hollywood crowd. But perhaps they've been thrown together by the new agency, because, remember, they've got all the contacts, all her new representatives. Oh yeah, we'll hook you up with so-and-so, we'll hook up with so-and-so. If she is cozying up to one of the most successful application providers in the world, this Bumble executive, Whitney, then is it possible that when it comes to the TikTok, we're not just looking at a blog, we are looking at an app. We are looking at the Duchess of Sussex app. Move over YouTube, move over Twitter. Perhaps she is going to be the new hire of Elon Musk at Twitter. Who knows, my dear, heaven forbid. But you could be seeing an app called the TIG coming to your device oh so soon. Or maybe they're just chatting about possibilities. And maybe it's Meghan that is going to tell Whitney what's key. Yes? And now onto the subject of Harry's trial, where Omid Scobie was the subject of a hearing yesterday, who gave evidence. And just to clarify, I have nothing against Mr. Scobie, unlike many of you, nothing at all. Scobie insisted that he is not a friend, mouthpiece or cheerleader of the Harkles. And I will tell you that I've told you for many months that he is not a close friend of theirs. And my information is that, he doesn't hang out with them. He doesn't receive calls from them, anything like this. And I have been disparaged for saying this before on this forum. Well, I told you it because it's true. Because it's true. And he has stated as much in this High Court hearing. And if you think he's lying to High Court and it's all some great big myth and conspiracy theory, well, poo you. But, you need your head read. Anyway, there's no doubt, by the way, that they have mutual contacts, which, as he has said himself, isn't actually that unusual within the world of publishing and, publishing of magazines and journalings and this kind of thing. But he said, and by the way, if you're following this story, you know that part of the evidence he is giving really pertains to Piers Morgan, who he says had knowledge of voicemail hacking, that voicemail, getting into people's voicemails, which seems like it was very easy to do 20 years ago. All you had to know was their default voicemail password for each, whether it was Vodafone or what else did they have, Orange, whichever provider it was. All you had to know was people's default voicemail passcode, because most people didn't set their own password as they were advised, so it was easy to hack in. But I'm always surprised how much information they get out of voicemails, because I don't know about you, my dear, but if I leave someone a voicemail, all I say is, will you pick up the phone, or I'll see you round the corner by the cinema at 12:30. I don't go into any great diatribe. These people seem to leave their whole life details on voicemails. I don't get it, my dears, don't do that. That's silly anyway. But one thing that Scobie said that I am inclined to believe, sort of against Piers Morgan, if you will, is that Piers Morgan okayed a story about the singer Kylie Minogue. Regular viewers will know that I am an admirer of Kylie Minogue, and there isn't much about her that I do not know. And one thing I did know and had heard from those in that industry, and I'm talking about editors, ultimate editors of the rags of that era, and I'm not going to specify, but I'm talking along the lines of Grazia, heat, okay, hello. I have lots of intimates, but one in particular, 2 or 3 on the periphery. I'm talking about one editor, and I happen to know as a fact that what Omid Scobie is saying about it being a sort of generally accepted thing of hacking into voicemails, I happen to know that he is speaking the truth. He is speaking the truth. So whether or not he overheard this conversation where he says that he heard Piers Morgan okay this story about Kylie Minogue and her then boyfriend James Gooding, when he heard that it had been verified by information from voicemails, so says Scobie, not me. But for to my ears it has the ring of truth, because I happen to know that it was going on in that era. That kind of thing was going on. And Omid Scobie says that he had been given a list of celebrity phone numbers and shown how to hack their voicemails. And on the subject of Harry, he said, I have never socialised with him. I am literally a member of the press doing my job. I am called friend, mouthpiece, cheerleader, when my approach is no different to any other royal correspondent having an area of focus. And in that respect, I do actually agree with Omid Scobie. And if anybody is shocked by that or alarmed by it or doesn't like it, what I would say to you is that if you, for example, come to me and appreciate what I do, which is to give, I try to be reasoned, I try to be fair-minded, as I'm doing now, as you can see me doing now in relation to Omid Scobie. You can't accuse me of not being fair-minded. But to an outsider, you might think that I would have a bias towards the royal family or Catherine and William. Sometimes I will say and admit to you that yes, I suppose it is a bias as such, because I am coming to you as a fan of those institutions. But I hope that you realise as regulars that I am a realist and try to present the truth of a situation as I see it to you. But just as many of you will be drawn to watch me or others like me from whichever platform, because our thoughts tend to echo yours and tend to lean in favour of the Prince and Princess of Wales. Well, it's got to be the same for the other way around, hasn't it, my dears? I love, or did love, what did at one point, but before social media, feel like a fair and free press and world where everyone can jive along, dance to the beat of their own drums, and hopefully orchestrate some wonderful, magnificent concerto called life, my dear, where we all quiver and quibble joyously and get along just fine and rub along just fine. And that is the kind of world I like, and that is why I would never try and dampen down an Omid Scobie from doing his affair with his niche, and would hope that he would show the same respect to the likes of him would show the same respect to the likes of me, even though we're munching 2 different flavours. Pudding is pudding. Angela Kelly's been spotted now that she's been turfed out. Yes, she loaded a van with her belongings, including a mattress and sapling trees from the garden. Did she get permission for that? She's moving to the Peak District, as you know, my dear, in her new home gifted by the King until her death. And please do not pay any mind, any attention to any spin put by any rags in the media who suggest that she is doing it under umbrage, or that she's doing it with regret, or even that she is sad, as they've said in these articles. I didn't see any tears in her eye in these photographs I saw. They seem to suggest that she was crying as she was going, and she might have shed a tear, but all we know is that she's going, and that she said she's looking forward to her new home, and that new home has been gifted and bought by the new King until her demise. And so I'm sure she will be absolutely hunky-dory, and we really do thank her. People can say whatever they like about Angela Kelly. The fact is that she dressed the Queen immaculately for very many years, and in my opinion really improved and elevated the Queen's wardrobe. The Harkles also made an appearance at Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara, a local youth group. They spoke with teens about social media and mental health. Might it be worth discussing or discouraging cannabis and magic mushrooms and I'm not suggesting that he's still on the shrooms, but I think he seems to intimate that they still have a good old puff, don't they, around the orange groves and the joint palm tree in Monty with Dora, away with the fairies, calming nerves and everything, self-medicating. That was what I got reading between the lines. Might be wrong, not saying anything, but that was why doesn't he hammer that message home? Because that is one of the things that induces paranoia and induces mental health difficulties and can actually have very, very sharply, keenly damaging effects on the psyche of the young. Another ex-royal who's totally bonkers, but in a rather more affectionate way, is our Fergie the Lurgy, who is launching a new podcast following in the Markle footsteps. I reserve judgment. Tea Talks with the Duchess and Sarah, because she's doing it in tandem with another friend, Sarah Thompson. A weekly podcast, the first coming out next week. It's about time we spilled the tea, she says. Candid conversations. The mind boggles. Yeah, Tea Talks. Why doesn't she just call it Tea Talks with Fergie and Sarah instead of the Duchess? Or just Tea Talk, Come up with something more catchy. Tea Talks with the Duchess and Sarah. She did provide some rather jolly photographs of her doings on Coronation Day, because she wasn't invited to the Coronation, and she assembled a tea that was fit for a king and shared it with the residents of the Manor Care Home in Windsor. And what a treat it was, because she even brought along one of the Queen Elizabeth's cookies. How wonderful. And you can see there the Charles's crunchy cream cake, made with Highgrove honey, and there were coronation crowns based on scones, and Camilla's tea. How spiffing. Another archy nemesis of the Harkles has been honoured and decorated. How lovely. Sir Edward Young. You all know he wasn't one of Harry's favourites, was he? No. Harry accused this senior courtier, the most senior courtier of the late Queen's household, of significant tensions. Well, he announced his retirement just this week, I think it was yesterday, after 19 years at the royal household, working for the Queen, and then he's been working for the King as he ascended the throne, but now he's out. He was doing a sort of job share with Sir Clive Alderton since the late Queen died, but now Sir Clive will take over as private secretary to the King. But he has been granted a peerage from the King, who has made him Lord-in-Waiting and appointed him a Knight Grand Cross of the Order of the Bath and a Knight Grand Cross of the Royal Victorian Order. So now he becomes Lord Young, and he's going to be taking a seat at the House of Lords, the upper house of the British Parliament system. So that is him and Jason Knauf, both honoured in 1 week. The same week of Harry's trial. Isn't that interesting? Isn't it? Many happy returns to Zara Tindall, who turned 42 yesterday. 42. And she was back in the saddle, actually, competing in dressage in Derbyshire at Chatsworth International Horse Trials. And after the dressage, she stood in 9th place. Which isn't great, is it? But, I'm sure it could be worse. But she is a silver medal Olympian, as we know. And Lady Lou, who's been having great fun getting on with her carriage driving. 19 years old she is. Hasn't time flown? Yes, she was at the Pole Roger meet at Royal Windsor Horse Show, and she was wearing light, muted tones, a floral cravat, and she was channeling the young Queen Mary, I thought. Absolutely. If she could do her hair in some Queen Mary do, it would look very much like the late Queen Mary. Sophie Edinburgh, her darling mother, presented rosettes in the fancy dress competition in the Copper Horse Arena, and she was toting a camouflage umbrella with a sort of red lining. How unusual. And Princess Eugenie, yes, she was about a Portobello Road street where the riches of ages are stowed. Yes, she was. And she was stowing away a little baby brother or sister for Augie, our darling Augie Porgy Brooksbank. Yes, she was. She was strutting Portobello Road, Notting Hill, taking it all in a black and velvet coat. And I, for one, absolutely approve. How royal. A black and gold velvet coat. Lovely. Lovely it was. That's more like it, Eugenie, my dear. Yes, she met her friend for lunch, and she wore a messy bun on her head, sunglasses, white tennis shoes, and she looked rather youthful with a clear complexion. They have wonderful skin, don't they, those royals? You know, it's there in the breeding. Very good skin. Except for Harry. Poor Harry. Not a bad complexion, but as we know, he goes red in summer and blue in winter. As I've said before, I will not be holding forth on the subject of the Duke of Edinburgh's weight loss, so no comments about that, please. But what I will say is that, yes, there is a weight loss. It's time to take in the clothes or buy some new ones. I believe in make and men do, but when they're flapping about you like sails in the wind, my dear, I mean, come on, this is like the ever-shrinking man left in the same outfit, you know, or some Alice in Wonderland affair. No. We love you, but no. Sophie, come on. Anyway, he is hosting celebratory events for young people this week for the Duke of Edinburgh Award, and he welcomed over 9,000 people to Buckingham Palace Garden to honour the Gold Award holders of 2023. Isn't it wonderful? We heard from inspirational figures, and there were lawn games, and he also hosted young people at the Palace of Holyrood House. And it was recently announced, actually, that there have been record-breaking participants of the Duke of Edinburgh Awards, the numbers, with 540,000 young people actively taking part in the last year, in 22-23. Over 500,000 young people, yes. Put that in your sushi roll and smoke it, Harkles. You know, you can have your little focus groups, but this is 540. This is in 1 year, my dear, of a Duke of Edinburgh Award that's been going on for decades and has benefited millions. Yes. And of those over 500,000, 325,000 of them were just starting out on their Duke of Edinburgh Award. So do you see? It is the soft power, the soft influence. It may not be glitzy or sexy. The tabloids might not go crazy for the Duke of Edinburgh or the awards, but guess what? Those who are experiencing it and doing it and benefiting from it, and many of the people at these events have been speaking out how it is benefiting their lives, their confidence, their job prospects, actually doing stuff, not idling away, munching dead fish with celebrities. Do you understand? The power was all there for them. The influence that they crave and that they now have to pay their representatives for was there for them. All they had to do was proper royal work, and they still could have enjoyed it. She still could have had time off whenever she wanted. Apparently the late Queen even offered her career to keep it if she still wanted to. Don't get gang-handed with me, my dear. I just won't put up with it. Don't you get gang-handed with me. I'm telling you the truth. Don't give me trouble. Don't give me trouble. There's no need for it. There's no need for it, my dear. So whatever mischief they're up to and what they have been getting up to, whatever games they're playing, my dears, whatever celebrities they're calling in to munch sushi with, oh, my dear, it's game over. It's game over. The royals have won. Noughts and crosses, strike. Bowling ball, out. It's booby prize to the Harkles. No, it doesn't matter what you get up to. You have become a poor man's version of Edward and Wallace Simpson. Yes, you have. A poor man's version of them. A cheap, inelegant version of them. And as vulgar and tawdry as it is, we must have some compassion and some sympathy for those unfortunate souls. We must, my dear, it's our duty, if we're to channel the royal spirit and invoke Christian values. Too, we must absolutely try and find it in ourselves to pity the poor creatures. Because that's all that's left, isn't it? Yes, my dear. Well, thank you for joining me. Thank you for channeling the royal spirit at all times, and I look forward to seeing you very soon. Do leave me your juicy comments. Do leave me your fruity observations. And for those of you that have asked, if I've made you chuckle, my tip jar is in the description box below. See you next time, my dears. Ta-ra and toodle pip.